In this episode, we're going to be looking at the album Mean Everything to Nothing by Manchester Orchestra. Manchester Orchestra is an American alternative rock band from Atlanta, Georgia, led by founding member and principal songwriter Andy Hull. Now well into their second decade of existence, they've released a handful of EPs and 5 albums, with Mean Everything to Nothing being the band's second. I've chosen Mean Everything to Nothing because the album was given to me by the friend that most shaped my earliest musical influences, at the time bootlegged to CD and shared with me during a music class. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope that you enjoy the show. This is Mean Everything to Nothing by Manchester Orchestra.
You're listening to Between the Tracks, a book club but for music. Join the conversation at tracks.show.
Let's bounce. You feel that?
All right.
Feel that?
What were you gesturing at me then?
I just gestured.
What the fuck was that?
Oh, Jesus. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Welcome, everyone.
What was that?
I don't know. It's probably me messing around with my Stretch Armstrong.
It could have been Stretch, yeah.
You know, just listeners, we were referencing Stretch Armstrong last week as the toy that we all decided we wanted to break the most. And we actually have one on hand this week. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris did get drunk the other night and ordered 1,000.
You know, people that go to the gym and everyone's like, oh, he skipped legs day.
He hasn't.
Right, no. Old boy's legs. If you've got a Stretch Armstrong, just standing up straight and let him do his thing. And believe me, old boy skipped legs day.
He's top heavy, man. He's top heavy. That's not the Stretch Armstrong that I remember, though. The Stretch Armstrong that I remember looked nuts in comparison.
I said it looks smaller, but I think I'm just bigger.
Maybe he had that massive mouth and a different haircut, and
I think you might have had a blow up.
Yeah.
That
That was the Cornish version.
yeah. Okay, all right.
All right.
Start off by ragging on me if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. Well, all right. Well, should we start then? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 2 of Between the Tracks. Let's get introductions out of the way. My name's Carl Lewis. This is Charlie Fowler.
Hello, Carl.
And this is Chris Albunte, the Bump Bunt.
Let go.
Sorry. And yeah, we're back for Chris's choice this week, which is Manchester Orchestra's Mean Everything to Nothing. We've been away researching and come back with hopefully a bunch of interesting things to talk about today.
Imagine if it wasn't.
Imagine if it
I've got
wasn't,
some
yeah.
interesting facts up my sleeve.
He's got some facts. And you know, we're back, week 2, which is good.
Maybe I'll shout out or refer to that introduction that you just heard.
Oh yeah.
I'll just
Whisper and
I'll
Bun.
just say hello. I'll just say hello to Jim at home in Cornwall, because that is who I got this album from.
Oh, the
Cheers,
guy
Jim.
in
When I was a
music class.
kid, when I was a kid, in music class during secondary school, I was probably 12 or 13. Got that big day for me. I got that. I got a Radiohead album as well from him. I think it must have been OK Computer, although I think it had some other songs on it. And
Spice Up Your Life.
Spice Up Your Life, and it was Death Cab for Cutie as well. So they were either 3 compilation albums. No, this was Mean Everything to Nothing was definitely the entire album. Definitely the entire album. The other 2 maybe not, but I put off most of it for a long time, but this one was real instant.
Nice.
Very thankful.
Good
Do you
choice,
ever-
Bunty.
Do you ever remember when you were really young and you'd download stuff off the internet, off like LimeWire or Kazaa or something, and just halfway through it just play blasting white noise for about 10 seconds and then give you the rest of the song?
Is that punishment?
It must be. I think the record label started putting stuff up
Yeah.
so that you would just get bored of the
That's
platform and be like,
that's
Just shout out.
Lars Ulrich doing that. He's going
it's
around
literally
going,
Lars. Yeah. He's there with a pair of headphones and a sweatband over them, ruining your day.
Can I just point out that other illegal downloading softwares are available?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Come on, we were young.
Come on now.
Come on now. All right. So, do you boys want to dive straight in, or do you want to address a couple of bits and bobs first?
Let's get in there.
We can go if you want. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the
the
platforms.
Spotify thing.
Yeah, just the platforms, because I know that some of the guys out there have contacted us directly and said that they've had some trouble with some things listening
Yeah.
to the episode.
Yeah. So basically, if you're listening on Spotify, we've adapted this kind of system where it will play segments of the show followed by the songs themselves in their entirety, which is great. And the reason we've chosen to do that is because that means the artist gets every single penny of the stream during the song. So if you're listening to the episode and all the songs that you listen to within that, the artist will get paid for, which is great. The problem with that is that Spotify hasn't released that for something called Spotify Connect, which means that you can't always connect it to your wireless speaker, which is a bit of a pain in the ass, but I think they're addressing it, and I've sent them a message, and hopefully that will be addressed.
Carl
But-
sent them a message to, one of the
Absolutely.
biggest companies in the world, and they're going to sort it out.
Yeah, they said they'll get back to me, so we'll see. But yeah, that's the kind of where we're at with it. So if you are listening on Spotify, either do it through headphones, which would be better for the music anyway, or Bluetooth directly to the speaker instead of using your network. So yeah, think that. If that wasn't confusing enough, there you go.
I don't know some of the things that you said, but those people that do understand it will appreciate it. I think.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Let's do the next.
Yeah?
one.
Let's do it.
Everyone ready? All right
do
then.
track-
Well, this is Manchester Orchestra, Mean Everything to Nothing, and this is track 1 called The Only One. Track 1, The Only One. I think it might be worth us starting with the lineup, who's on the album, just so we know, because this band does have some moving parts and members that have come and gone. So in this current incarnation for this album, it was Andy Hull, singer, writer for the most part, and guitarist. Lead guitar was Robert McDowell, bass Jonathan Corley, drummer Jeremiah Edmond, and keys percussion Christopher Lightning Freeman, who's credited on the album as Christopher Freeman plays CNC drums and With Your Brain, which I loved.
He does play with your brain.
I've got time for today.
Maybe we'll get to him later on anyway. 'Cause I think
Definitely.
he deserves a chat anyway. But
He does. But yeah, track 1.
It's funny you mention that. I just because you mentioned it then. Do you want to see the most weird little diagram I found?
Well, of course.
how does this translate? Oh yeah, translates great for radio.
This translates great for radio, but it's basically like a graph of all the members that are in and have been in
for how
Manchester
long?
Orchestra.
Yeah,
and
it's-
how long they're all in there for.
It's
Okay,
not
well-
the only one that exists. There's many like that. I
Well,
think.
no, but like I just thought it was quite funny.
That's good. We'll post that when the episode goes out. We'll post that with
Sorry,
the,
listeners.
with the tile.
Imagine what Arcade Fires looks like. You know, it's you have to deal with these things sometimes.
It's true.
Yeah.
So what do we all think about track 1 then? So something that's probably worth addressing early on is that this album has a lot of potential triggering themes to it. It goes very close to religion, very close to kind of potentially drug addiction. It's all implied. Obviously, this is an album that can be interpreted in any way. But yeah, potentially themes of molestation and stuff like that. So just a quick warning for everyone that's potentially going to be brought up in our interpretations of it.
Worth saying.
Yeah. It's interesting because Andy, so a bit of background on Andy, the writer himself, he is the son and grandson of ministers in the Christian church in Georgia. And so there are a lot of religious themes that he does go into. But yeah, what were your thoughts, boys?
Well, that's what I took from this song when I first heard it anyway. That line, "I'm the only son of a pastor I know." Immediately, it's a great flag for the rest of the album. In that,
yeah.
look, we're probably going to be addressing some of these things. It's one of my favorite lines in the entire album. I think I like the way that he addresses that head on. I'm the only son of a pastor I know that does the things that I do.
Yeah.
I think it's great, and the melody is hinted on again later. I'm the only son of a bastard I know that knows the bastard too. Those as couplets over 2 different verses.
Shout out to couplets.
Shout out to couplets, love a couplet, and Andy Hull is fantastic at writing in that way.
He is.
He's amazing with words and hinting at rhymes, carrying things over into different verses, different choruses, referencing them in other songs and stuff like that.
You know what? For saying you're like Chris always says, I'm not a lyrics guy. I don't pay that much attention to lyrics. This album, when you actually dive into it, is so complex.
It terrified me. Yeah, I've been terrified.
I think
to
it
talk
is, I think it's terrifying. It's like when we came onto this episode, I thought I'd, almost having to be careful where I put my opinion on certain things because I feel like it's holy ground.
Yeah, I mean, everything is open
Sorry.
to interpretation, including, religion and stuff like that. It can be, I think Andy he toes the line really well that he uses a lot of double entendres and kind of consciously beats around points. Like the first line, I am the only one that thinks I'm going crazy and I don't know what to do. Like it was referenced that he was always kind of felt alienated by the religious community at home and having to follow in the footsteps of his father and his grandfather who were pastors and ministers. And so like the idea of him thinking he's going crazy is like, just because I don't feel like I want to live this life, I feel alienated now amongst the entire community that do.
Right.
And the son of a bastard, is that like the fact that because he didn't follow in the footsteps of his dad and grandfather, does that make him feel like a bastard? Almost like someone who doesn't have a dad because he didn't follow
That's
in,
how I
those,
heard it.
in those footsteps.
That's
Yeah,
how
I
I
mean, he
heard
has a
it.
great relationship with his dad. So
Well,
I doubt
that's the
the
confusing
literal
thing.
case.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire discography of Manchester Orchestra and videos and everything that we go back to or hear following on from this album, there's always that. It's actually quite frustrating because father is a word that either is your dad or it is God. Like that's the biggest hurdle for me is I don't know what if he's always referring to his dad or if he is referring to his faith.
Well, those double entendres are
That's
littered
it.
through there, and
That's
like
it.
he does that a lot in
That's it.
a bunch of different ways, which is great, and it does open things up, and it adds a theme to the whole album.
Can I say one more thing about lyrics?
Go for it.
You know the line, the passive power of the truth would cut me loose.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was super interesting in itself. You know, like I thought like another way of, it's almost saying like the submissive strength of something. It's kind of like completely juxtaposing.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a cool line. But again, it's a hard one to pick apart.
He has a way of writing, and those religious themes and those struggles tend to keep coming back.
Yeah.
And it gets more and more apparent as we go on.
Yeah, and it makes a really interesting listening and trying to unpack these songs is it's a job in itself. It's scary, but we can only do our best. And there's not as much, compared to last week, let's say with Snail Mail, there's not as much concrete evidence about what some of these songs are, unless they're directly addressed by him.
Yeah, which is the beauty of music
course,
in general.
Of course. Away from the lyrics, though, as I was going to say, sorry, the song itself, I think is possibly one of my favorite starts to an album. It feels like the start of an album. That especially that sound that begins, like that winding up sound.
Yeah.
Winch him up!
Yeah, basically, winch him up, yeah. And then the whole first verse is building, adding, and then it just drops.
Yeah.
Which I think is, it shows where we're going to go with the rest of the album, but it's such a powerful start to an album for me.
It is.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of the lines start, like it's almost like an introduction saying, I am the only son of a pastor I know who does the things I do, and I am the son of a bastard. All of it's almost like an introduction to the audience describing himself.
Did anyone nearly fall over with the old hard pan guitar?
Oh, yeah.
I was literally, I don't know if it's like more modern tunes these days, it's slightly more like stereo field is kind of slightly wider so that they can do stereo field. But sorry about that.
yeah.
But I literally was like, oh my God, I think my headphones are broken. And I did the whole pan thing. And my God, it's like 100% in one ear.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's mixed interest.
But they do so much. It's such a short song, and they do so much in that song with layering things up, dropping halftime, so making it feel like it's slowing down almost. They got some slide guitar thrown in there. There's just so much. I could talk about just this song for a long, long time. My favorite bit that I didn't realize existed is that towards the end, there's this, I have to call it a Beach Boys-esque backing vocals that are right in there. I didn't even know it was there. I've known this album for years and years and years. Didn't even know it was there until I sat down and listened to it. And it's so funny that it's there.
That confused me though, because I was thinking like the lyrics and the theme of the song, and then you've got this Beach Boy-esque BV, and you're like, whoa, this feels happy and light. And then, the lyrics are like, oh.
But it's a lot of fun. It
Sure.
makes it a lot of fun.
Well, with that being said, we'll move on to track 2, Shake It Out. Speak to me then.
Gross.
Sorry. No, endorsed.
Cool, that was track 2, Shake It Out. Incredible.
Incredible.
Incredible, yeah.
Massive. So good, so frantic, just chaos. And again,
just
all
so
those
much.
religious themes.
There's just so much, isn't there?
There's
just
a
so
lot
much.
to unpack.
Yeah.
I found like this one introduced for the first time in the album themes of addiction, which I know for a fact that Andy is clean and I think always has been.
This is what I was going to ask if anybody had
Exactly.
found
Something that
otherwise,
I couldn't find out.
Yeah, I
myself.
found out he's always been clean. I think he has like a drink and stuff, but he's had no addictions. But I think like the addictive themes in this are playing on an addiction to God and his relationship with that.
Sure.
It almost feels like he's becomes addicted to it and then gets away from it, and then it keeps pulling him back. And that, like the first verse, shake it out, I need another and another and another, I can feel it now. That is the classic, like shaking pills out of a bottle, taking them, I can feel something now.
Totally. I also got that massive sense, which I did through the whole album, of frustration.
Yeah.
And I think it's even safe to say in track 2, I was like, this guy knows how to express emotion so clearly through the way he actually sings.
Mm-hmm.
Like his voice is so emotive. Like it can put you in a, he sounds frustrated when he wants to sound frustrated. He sounds angry when he wants to sound angry in the way he sings. And I felt that was quite clear in this song.
Yeah.
I felt like there was like a frustration from him, and the frustration was kind of, he wanted something external to fix his problems, which, in this case is God.
We can assume.
We could assume, but yeah.
It does, as a whole, feel like a constant struggle with God, or with religion. We can't say God too specifically, because religion, there can be a struggle with it. A lot of people, like Andy, still believes in God and is still a very godly man, but I think the extremes of it he dealt with as a child is what is fought in this album, in my interpretation of it.
I mean, yeah. The open to interpretation door is always open.
I'm probably going to say open to interpretation about 1,000 times in this episode. So.
Just quickly get that down and put that on one of your buttons, and then it can be.
Yeah, could do. Yeah, open to interpretation. I think I actually have open to interpretation. I think it's here.
I execute judgment
Oh no,
on
it's
you.
not. Never mind. No, it's not that one.
Did anybody hear have you heard the alternate version that is on the EP that was released at the same time?
No.
14 Years of Excellence EP. It's called 14 Years of Excellence. I'm sure it was released in 2009 at the same time. Everywhere I've seen it is released at the same time. But it is like, it's an acoustic version-ish. It goes into full band mode. But it's loaded with even more vocal harmonies. It's amazing what they do. And they also add some additional lyrics to it, which is such an interesting way to repackage a song. Towards the end, I felt the Lord begin to peel off all my skin. There's almost like a call and response moment in that. So if you haven't heard that, definitely go and listen to that alongside this, because it does make the song sound really, really different. This is a really instantaneous song for me. I mean, what was this, like the second single?
The whole thing was kind of, every song was almost a single because every song had a video. So
Yeah.
this song had 2 videos, because it had the one that was part of a bigger theme, which we'll get into later, and then there was the official kind of video with Andy in it. And it's such a good video if you go watch it. It's based on a Sylvester Stallone film called Over the Top, and it's about a guy who is a truck driver who comes on hard times.
Are you doing this? Are you going to do this seriously?
Yeah.
and not laugh through the
What?
the synopsis of the film about a truck? It's an arm wrestling film.
Yeah, it's great. It spoke to me. So he's on hard times. Listen, can we have some quiet? Hold on. I don't have anything for
Oh,
that.
that was weird.
So it's based on a Sylvester Stallone film. Let's just leave that film, shall we?
No. We're going to talk about that film.
All right. Well, it's based on a Sylvester Stallone film where he's a struggling truck driver who goes and picks up his son from the military, I think, who he's never really met. And he accompanies him on the road as a truck driver to compete in arm wrestling competitions. And Andy Hull is the truck driver. And this little kid is his son, dressed in army stuff. And it's fucking great, man. He's just going around slamming people's arms around. It's great.
It's what I dream of.
Oh, jeez.
I want a life like that.
Is that how you want to live your life?
Yeah.
Great. Well, if this works out, we'll get you a truck.
Yeah.
Um,
Did anyone think that bridge was very Biffy Clyro?
Yeah. There's a few bits in this album that I thought were quite biffy. Shall we move on to track 3?
Let's do it.
Okay. This is track 3, which is called I've Got Friends. Track 3, I've Got Friends in all the right places.
First single off the album?
Is that what it is?
Mhm.
There we go.
maybe first and only. So when I was saying about that before, I think only this and Shake It Out got pressed as singles. I think that's
Right. Got
That's why.
Yeah.
But this was chosen as a single. You know what he said about it? You know why it was chosen?
Yeah. Quirkiest, right?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. For me,
Is it though? I mean,
where I had, well, is it? I don't know. I mean, it has, like, the start is very, there's a couple of playful themes. It sounds a bit childlike in the kind of, sounds like a toy machine in certain points. And like having lines like, I can't play where I'm not supposed to anyway. Like referring to his childhood as being someone who can't do certain things, like certain music wasn't allowed in the house. He wasn't allowed to do certain things. So I think it has a playful quirkiness to it.
I felt exactly the same.
mhm.
Exactly how I read into it too.
Mm.
Exactly what I thought.
I know that it was as a response to the songs on the first album, and you know, lots of bands do this anyway, where they pick a song that is really far away from the songs that came before. Basically, I know that, you know, we've already spoken about Biffy Clyro, and that happened on the last Biffy Clyro album, where you get the first song and you go, okay, this is really weird. This doesn't feel as weird to me anyway. I wouldn't say it's the most instantaneous for me. It's not one that I would always look to listen to.
Yeah.
I adore this whole album. I'll say that right up the top. I wouldn't skip any songs through this album. I listen to this as an album, but
It's quirky. And it, for me, I do like it. I like the chorus. I like how it moves.
He says it's the quirkiest, but for me, there were like their little piano riffs and stuff. There were definite things that you could see why this track caught on as a single for me and why it did so well.
Yeah. I mean, did anyone have any, I couldn't understand the, I've got friends in all the right places. I know what they want and I know they don't want me to stay. So does that mean he has a lot of dead friends in heaven and he knows what they want? They don't want him to stay here on earth? Because the music video is a person, the protagonist who's throughout all of those videos, and her boyfriend, who is a bear. No, her boyfriend is killed by a bear.
that's true.
And she's walking through a graveyard and the entire band show up as ghosts and start chasing her.
A ghost!
A ghost! So are they the friends in the right places? Is the right place heaven? Is it, again?
Oh my word, Carl. I read that people thought that it was a breakup song. Oh no, it wasn't a breakup song, but he was into this girl and his friends were basically saying, she's not right for you, and that's why they were not with him.
So friends in the right place is friends coming from the right place by
Exactly.
saying she's not the one for you. Wow. Well, I mean, that's two contrasting opinions on what it means. So
Well, I don't do lyrics, do I? So famously,
Yeah,
Chris is famously not the lyric guy.
does that mean I can just step out all the time?
Did anyone watch any live videos of this song?
I didn't see one actually.
I watched because you know they reference Lollapalooza a lot in. I don't know if you noticed that in their interviews that it was like their favorite gig.
Yeah, they
I mean,
played
that
there
shows
a
it.
lot. Yeah, they've
Cool.
No, that you're right. They do say that.
Yeah.
Because they've been very honoured to play there a
There
lot.
you go. But I was watching one, I think it was 2014, and they were playing this tune, and you know the keys line. It just in the track. It's very like it's a massive part of the tune, and the keys player in this was absolutely going mad for it.
Well,
But
this
he was
is
playing
Chris
that-
Freeman, yeah.
Boom, 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 but he was like absolutely
Chris Freeman
rocking
is
out for this.
absolutely mental on stage. He's
Oh,
amazing.
man.
So he's not in the band anymore, which is a shame because he was on the first album, second album. He was there for quite a while actually. He may have jumped out before the latest album, A Black Mile to the Surface, I think. But he's such a loss. We talk about in the band that I play in. We talk about
Shout out Munkle.
Thank you, Carl.
Shout out the Wurzels.
Shout out the Wurzels. We talk about this idea of an auxiliary guy, the guy that brings basically what Chris Freeman is doing. He's the hype guy. He's Flavor Flav, but plays instruments.
He's just an absolute high. But the thing is, he just turns around with his back to the audience and is just air guitar headbanging to every single tune. I watched an interview yesterday where it was Andy and Chris, and Andy was talking about Chris joining the band, and he was just like, "Do you want to come and be in this band I'm in?" He's like, "Yeah, but I can only play drums, and you've got a drummer." So they were like, we'll put an extra kit on stage that you can play, but like we need some keys and stuff. You'll figure it out. And he just joined the band. He didn't know how to play anything other than drums.
Amazing.
And just dragged him in the band, and that was it. And a funny thing about Chris Freeman is, do you know the name of his side project?
Go
It's
on.
good. It's called Alaska Him Nicely.
Oh yeah, I did see this.
Beauty.
I love it.
I haven't heard any of it.
He's a
It
funny
wasn't-
guy though, man. If you watch Manchester Orchestra had this podcast, that was a video cast. So every
Stay off our airways.
yeah, exactly. Stay out of our way. They'll put them up on YouTube. They're only a couple of minutes long, and in those episodes, you get to see them all just hanging out in a splitter as a young band. And Chris Freeman's a funny guy, man.
He's an artist now. He's like a designer, I think.
Yeah, I remember Mike Griffith, shout out Mike Griffith of Munkle, showing me some of his things.
No one ever looks like they're having more fun in the room, regardless of if they're the band or if they're the audience. No one ever looks like they're having more fun in that room than Chris Freeman.
Yeah.
So yeah, big blow for the band, for those that know who he is, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Their latest album hasn't suffered from it. It definitely did the best in terms of critical acclaim.
Yeah.
But I would assume missed on stage.
Yeah, and I don't think there was any bad blood. I think he left in good spirit to pursue his own side projects, because they're all artists, and so yeah, they all have their own thing. But speaking of Mike Griffiths and Munkle, this next song, Pride, we had a comment from Mike himself saying Pride All Day Every Day is his favorite song on the album. So let's jump into that one. This is track 4, Pride. Oh yeah. Track 4, Pride.
Come on now.
Oh, it's heavy, man.
I
Sludgy.
wanted Bunt to set the scene when he first heard this song, because I can imagine a little Chris Bunt going nuts.
Little tiny Bunt.
I think I probably had close to an afro at that point. My hair just didn't go down.
Oh, man, please tell me there's a picture of you with an afro.
I've got them.
Oh, there's some bad pictures of me at that age, yeah.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Nice.
How would I have felt? I'd have been razzing around in my little Peugeot 106 probably. Do you remember that I had that sub in the back? Do you remember that sub?
Oh my good God. Did it have an underlight?
I hope it did.
Do you remember those?
Like a dodgy Need for Speed custom.
Did anyone in your village, have an underlight on their scooter?
No, I grew up in Highton Village in Liverpool. If you had a scooter, it was getting taken off you immediately by someone who was bigger.
Well, I was hammering around country lanes listening to this one probably. It's massive, this song, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge, and it progresses so well. And also one of my references for this one is the first 2 notes, the very first bit that's played is exactly the same, apart from the key, as a song called Powerball by Tool. Just so you know.
Nice.
Yeah, but the whole thing sounds a lot like a Tool song. It does.
Cole likes it. Is it really?
The whole thing sounds like a Tool song to me.
As someone that's scared to death by Tool. And
yeah, if this had a Tool-like music video, you would literally have nightmares about it.
I'd be out.
Chris is terrified of it.
I'd never have brought this album if it sounded if I knew it sounded like Tool.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys feel like you've been in some bands that have knocked on this, like almost like the door of this song, and been like trying to create this sound in your own bands? Because
it's hard to execute this kind of heaviness.
It is the heaviness and like the tone and stuff. You're like, oh, this feels good. But I feel like I've been in bands where I'm like, we're going to go heavy.
And everyone hits on
little riff.
Yeah. They're one of those Behringer fuzz pedals. Everyone puts that on.
Exactly. The cheapest fuzz pedal you can afford. Fuzz pedal you can afford is a really hard saying.
Going into like the second-hand bit in the, the Dawson's guitar shop. You're like, right, how much is that one? He's like, £8. I'm like, yeah, I'll have it. Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Or pressing Insane on your Line 6 Spider amp. But I love when it comes in, the vocal is so dry, like literally no reverb on it. And it's like this such a haunting kind of delivery. And then he goes into like the massive break. But it did kind of I know I'd love to her cover this song is,
One Direction.
Wes Scantlin from Puddle of Mud. Did you ever see his About a Girl cover?
No.
So imagining Andy Hull's voice in this and then thinking about this, right? Did you ever see this? It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
It is terrifying, and it should never have been able to happen. Someone let that happen.
Someone actually, and it was like Sirius XM or something. Oh, it's brilliant.
You're right, Wes. I had the Puddle of Mud album, so we're not gonna...
Me too.
Did you?
Yeah,
wow.
of course it did.
Well, Wes, if you're listening.
You either go Puddle of Mud or you go Tool. You do
They're the only two, yeah. You go into a record shop at that age and there's just Puddle of Mud or Tool, and you're like, do you want the red pill or the blue pill?
And you take out to the guy who's taking your money, and they just go...
Yeah. Yeah, you buy the Tool album and you get unplugged from the Matrix and you get to hang out with the cool dudes. And if you buy Puddle of Mud, you have to carry on in this.
My word.
This fucking false existence I've been going through all because of Puddle of Mud.
When I put this on the first time, I had it like respectively loud in my headphones.
Has to be.
No,
respectively as in...
respectively loud.
Oh, right.
And I was like, I wonder what happens if I turn it. Let's
Yeah,
go.
man. For every decibel you turn it up, the hairs
sounded-
on your arms stand up 1 inch higher.
Perfectly said, Carl.
It's ridiculous, man. But yeah, lyrically, again, just intense and amazing themes. Fake a face to make the kingdom clean. So another reference to getting clean, but also cleansing your soul and all that stuff. After all, it's me, the king and the beast. Assuming that me is Andy Hall, the king is God, and the beast is the devil. So a lot of kind of
Awesome.
religious intertwined themes, as always with this album, which is amazing to listen to, because especially as someone who is personally not of faith and never really has been, to dive into these themes and to see how people, as someone who's been brought up in that sphere, has conversations almost with it, was really interesting for me to listen to. And so, yeah.
But I took the end, the repetition of the end, slight variations, but repetition essentially. I took that as like reasoning with an addiction, basically.
Yeah.
Like falling in, falling out, falling in, falling out.
Yeah. What a habit. I think I'm dying for another one and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
Man, he's so good with the way that he plays with words and stuff. There's some really good examples later on anyway of it.
Yeah.
But
Hugely.
littered throughout every song. It's great. But this is a live song.
They opened the set with this for a long, long time.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't really go away from the set, I think. It's right at the top of how many times they've played their songs. But there was a great quote where either Andy or Chris Freeman said that they want to scare people when they play live. Basically, they want to scare people into liking the band. I think when you remember those bands that you see and you're like, fuck, that's an insanely good band.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they approach it. They just want to scare people into liking the band.
I thought you were talking about something else. Like a few festivals that I played at, and you get all the kids that are right at the front, and you get on stage and it's dead silent on stage. And obviously we've got the click coming in our ears, and I'm thinking, as soon as this comes out the PA, because they can't hear that.
Yeah.
They're going to shit themselves. And I thought that's what you're talking about when you're saying scaring them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rest until those people at the front have blood coming out of their ears.
If we haven't blown their trousers off, it wasn't worth coming.
But at the time of just before Simple Math came along, which was the next album, at the time this was Chris. That's what I mean with Chris and Andy. This was their favorite to play live.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's visible when you watch it. If you watch any of their videos, they haven't got a lot of in studio videos, but they've got a lot of good quality, like festival videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And
It's incredible.
Pride kicks off, man. Pride absolutely kicks off.
Such a good live band. Some of those, like the Lollapaloozas and stuff, are great. Also, check out the music video. This is another, again, we'll get later, maybe. If not, loosely, each song has a music video, and they all form one extended narrative, which I couldn't make head nor tails of. It didn't really seem to unravel anything for me.
Yeah.
But in this one, it does have it fits the lyric quite well. Also, the video reminds me of the Radiohead Just video in its themes.
Oh, with the guy
With the guy with the briefcase, same haircut. It could be the same guy. Maybe that's his gig. He's like on his. He's got like a headshot of just him, and he's like, "Well, I'm the guy from the Just video. What do you want? What else? What do you mean? I've got my own briefcase. Let's go."
The agent is frustrated as fuck. I can't get you any work, man.
Yeah, not like in Extras where you've got Barry from EastEnders in the office. Well, it's like, the guy from the Just video.
Maybe I don't think we should keep returning to videos anyway, because we've, as you've just said, then every song has a video. And I think they might be related along the way.
Yeah. It seems to spin a narrative. If you can make sense of it, send us a message and let us know, because I tried to bring that in as part of my notes and couldn't really.
Same,
make
yeah.
sense.
Until you get to one of the later songs, I think the Everything to Nothing video may clear up some things. So maybe start there, because there's some tarot readings in that video.
Yeah.
But
Jeepers.
could I get a thread through those videos? Not really.
Nah.
No.
So I'm happy to never ever talk about them for now.
Great, cool. Well, let's. Anything else on that one before I move on?
Good for me.
It's a favorite though, isn't it?
It's incredible, man.
Banger.
It's massive. I've never seen them live. I'd love to, but I would love if they were still opening with that, because I'm sure it goes off. So yeah, this is track 5, In My Tea. Track 5, In My Teeth. Amazing chorus.
Amazing tune.
This was my favorite for a long time on this album.
Yeah.
Having been a long time listener of it.
This was a big song for them as well, right? This catapulted them in terms of commercial.
Did it
success,
really?
Apparently.
Oh, I didn't get that.
This is what I was reading. I don't have a quote for that, so maybe it didn't. But it was alluded to the fact that this was a big one for them. Sounds a bit Nirvana-y. Anyone really clock that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, glad you said. There were 2 albums of reference for when recording this album. One was In Utero, so Nirvana, and one was Pinkerton by Weezer.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This does feel like this feels like
Say About a Girl. Go on.
No, I was gonna. Oh yeah, fuck it is. No, I was gonna say.
Oh, shit. Is that what you meant?
Oh no, it is. No, it's gonna be Lithium.
Also the bass line
yeah.
for sure. And I read, I think it was a AMA with Andy Hull, and they asked him about this song, and he said that the song he initially joked about calling the song "This Sounds Like Nirvana," and I don't give a shit.
Yeah, fair.
And he also described the album, referring back to what you were saying about Weezer. He described the album saying that this is like Pinkerton on steroids, I think he said.
Well,
Yeah, I
fair.
read that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes sense considering what we were saying.
I was struggling to get it personally because of the themes of this album against, Pinkerton or just Weezer in general. They don't quite hit that same serious note, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But influence is ever-changing.
Yeah, exactly. But the Nirvana thing is sure and true.
Mhm.
Loud, quiet.
Yep.
The
Similar chord structures are kind of happy but fuzzy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm not going to argue with that at all.
I couldn't place when I at this stage in the album, I do try and come in every week with kind of minimal research when I listen to it the first time. And when I listened to this, I couldn't place the year that it was recorded. I thought, and then when I was actually kind of shocked to find out it was 2009, right?
Mhm.
I thought it was older. I thought it
The album in
sounded-
general?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it sounded quite, it's not that it was timeless. I mean, some people probably argue it is, but I thought it sounded older than 2009.
Yeah. I mean, there is like a consistent kind of resurgence happening. So yeah, it could sit in the 90s. It could sit in yesterday. It could sit in next year, I think.
I mean, old guy who was the producer, Joe Ciccarelli.
Mhm.
Ciccarelli.
Shout out,
McComb,
Joe Ciccarelli or Ciccarelli. If we apologize if we mispronounced that.
It's going to be Ciccarelli, I think. He didn't seem to have that heritage during the 80s and 90s of that. He didn't like tap into that grunge thing. At least the credits that I saw. I mean, he's got some wild credits. Frank Zappa.
Yeah, a lot of Zappa stuff.
Yeah, and some great soundtracks. He's got like
Yeah.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Saturday Night Fever.
Amazing, really?
Under his
Wow.
And Wincing the
Right.
Night Away by Shins, by the Shins.
Well, yeah,
Favorite
I mean,
album.
yeah, there is stuff there. There's the Shins and My Morning Jacket and
Mm-hmm.
the white, Jack White stuff.
Yeah,
White
and the
Stripes
Raconteurs as well. He did Icky Thump. Yeah, all around 2007 as well. That was a big year for him.
Yeah, but nothing that delves right into the things that you're talking about, Charlie. Of again getting into that 90s thing, because this is a has a lot of grunge elements to it, but there's a bit more. There's other things in there. It's a bit more emo than that, and it has that southern thing. Which you wouldn't necessarily associate with grunge. You'd be thinking that's more of a northern states thing.
You'd be thinking Kings of Leon and that kind of
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, they address some of that. They talk about some of the guys from Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
He's Andy Hull says that
Or Andre 3000.
Andre, yeah, well, no, he talks a lot about hip hop actually.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta's
Yeah, he does talk a lot about hip hop. He in the Amoeba video where they're going through their records, he pulls out an Outkast album anyway. So
nice.
And I think he takes a lot of inspiration from the way that hip hop artists write, and although you might not pick up on that, it's something that he uses in the way that he writes the songs.
Interesting. I'm going to kind of try and tackle the first line. I think it's what I read was that Andy purposely has never said what this means. I think he's kept it purposely elusive because it can be perceived as with racial connotations and certain things. But the first line is, "I felt a black man in my teeth." And I was trying to pick it apart, trying to figure it out. And I ended up on, I think it was a Reddit forum. And there was an interesting theory that I found from one of the users that suggested the black man would reference a priest. Priests generally dress in all black, and whether it symbolizes kind of channeling a priest or challenging the priest, it's unclear. But it might reflect the annoyance of having something stuck in your teeth, being the priest and being God and being religion. So that was the best interpretation I could get of it. I doubt Andy's coming out and going straight in with a kind of such a racially provocative line like that without having, again, that double deep meaning. And he, Andy Hull did say he will never tell, and so we'll probably never know. But that was the best I could find.
I guess you'll never know.
The song again goes into a lot of youthful reflection, I think, like with the Jesus is coming, better act our age and clean everything. It's there's a clean theme again. And
I mean, it could be seen that those lyrics could be seen as like how people can be quite hypocritical within faith, and I think, and balancing this idea of needing something from God, but then also acting like you don't need it, and even that line, so that we can see that we never really needed it anyway.
Yeah,
like there's such wild lines, expecting a savior to come down, but then also like acting. It's a wild vision. I think.
Yeah, for me that breaks faith in that, like, having stepped away from faith, you realize outside of the staunch upbringing you had that we didn't actually need all of that anyway. Life is much better if you live it in the moment. And like John spoke a theory straight into my brain. God damn, did you mean to do that to me? All of those lines, like John is again the most elusive name in the world because it's very biblical, but also could be his mate John or whatever. It's like he's consistently leaving us on the knife edge with it.
Yeah, There's so much in this song that with hypocrisy or threat or like the Jesus don't come around unless we pray each day for 500 days. There might be so many biblical references in there that would fly over my head anyway, but some of the way that Andy Hull approaches the lyrics to these songs does seem like he might be putting on a character. Like I wrote at the top there, is this a character? The black man in my teeth is what he's saying. Is he now adopting this as a character?
Yeah, they don't have to be conversations with Andy and his faith. They could be a bunch of different things like that. And so, like the chorus, going back to the never really needed it anyway, like that is like, oh, did I really need faith anyway? And then he says in the double chorus at the end, the bottom's going to bury us anyway, like as a potential reference to hell being the bottom and heaven being the top. It's like, we might all be going to hell anyway.
Yeah.
Because he might have sinned in life and realizes that he might have just wasted it now. So I'm going to hell anyway. I might as well do what I can to stay awake, i.e. stay alive in this middle ground. That's at least something he can control.
Right.
And the song's got a bloody good bass line.
And the song's
Carl,
got a
play the
rock
next track.
Right then. Let's move on. This is track 6, $100. That was track 6, $100.
You don't have $100, do you?
I don't actually. Neither does he. It's an interesting break in tempo. This kind of, to me, signifies the middle point. Like, it's right in the middle.
Well, it does.
Didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, but the end side one, because we've got it here on record, haven't we? And they end this with that, and it does feel like that. And it's good that you said that because Andy makes a really fine point of they want to be an album band. They talk about Built to Spill, the band Built to Spill, as being an album band and embracing the album format. And also they say an amazing thing about Neil Young, about when CDs came around with Neil Young. Neil Young stopped making albums at whatever length an LP is and started making them at 80 minutes instead. Because that's what you got to work with. So that's your format.
Yeah, yeah.
And they do that. So I think that this has been slammed in there because it's a side closer. It closes side.
Yeah, yeah, and it works. Did anyone manage to root out the meaning for this one?
Yes, I did. From what I've read, it seems like it was he had come out of his parents' house and his dad had given him $100 and he lost it between the house and the car.
That's it. Yeah, it's
and he lost. and he lost it.
I found the same thing.
And his wife, right, was the female vocal on the track is his wife. you know,
No, it can be his wife. I don't
no,
think it
not
is his
not
wife.
not actually,
Oh,
but like in the story.
I think it's actually his mum.
Oh.
Well,
In
hang
real-
on. Or his sister. Hang on. It's a Hull.
No, I'm not talking in real life. I'm talking as part of
Who it
this-
represents. Yeah.
Oh,
who
I
it
see.
represents.
I see.
I get that. I read in a live session with Spin Magazine, he says, this is a song about the first time that I blew up in front of my new wife, Amy, after losing $100 bill that my father had just given me. So blob on, Charlie boy.
Blob on Charlie Boy.
Blob on, Charlie.
Never had that one before.
Jeepers.
This does contain my favorite line in the entire album. And I offered you a small dog in the kitchen.
He's going nuts and it's gone, just have that dog a minute while I
mean-
figure myself out.
Well, it could be a hot dog.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah. Or a
Wanna-
chipolata. It could be even small. I mean, define small.
Well, exactly.
Actually, I watched a live video with him yesterday, and
He's
it
a
was
funny
just
guy, man.
he said it was just the two of them, and he said, "This is my favorite song about a dog."
Clever. Yeah, it's a good song. It has a place in the album for being a transitional song.
I think it has a place, and they do play this. They play this a lot live.
Mm.
I think it's a real easy one for a crowd to latch onto, isn't it?
Big crowd shout song as well.
Yeah,
Gives everyone
yeah.
a chance to have a sip of the beer as well, who's
Yeah.
not Andy. So it
Yeah.
probably serves the same purpose live as it does on the
Yeah.
album, a bit of a reset.
You could probably play it into a New Year party instead of bloody the Proclaimers, probably.
You probably
I'm
could.
fine.
Oh, but yeah, but I mean,
Is that what you meant by a little sing along?
well, yeah, it can be that if you want. But the I am fine, I am fine, I am fine, I am fine, I am fine. I like that stressing of that point. It's like,
Yeah,
mate, mate, you sure?
It's like, yeah, no, it's like his missus is going to him, you're all right, you're like, calm down, it's only $100. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm fine, I just
Yeah.
need me one.
Yeah, I just need me one. Reference point comes up a lot. Neutral Milk Hotel,
Yeah.
the absolute soft boy album of all time. But it does sound like the second track, The King of Carrot Flowers. So it's, that's in there. But
For everyone listening, we do make a playlist every week with all of the referenced songs in the episode that you can go listen to. We'll link to it. That's Chris's department. He is the curator.
Creative director.
that's me.
What am I?
You're the fact of the week guy.
Oh yeah.
Any facts?
I
You
suppose
want to throw
that's
out
me.
while
Yeah,
we're here?
we haven't had one yet.
On the
No,
subject?
you're gonna get one. Give me time.
gonna get one. We'll get to it.
It's like watching, like I don't know, one of those like the X Factor or something, and you know that the audition everyone wants to watch is coming up, and they're only watching the whole program for that. Everyone tuning in is waiting for my fact of the week, and then they'll turn the podcast.
That's an
on.
amazing analogy, man. I'm not gonna lie, you got me on the ropes there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna address that one.
Well, whilst you get your facts in order, let's listen to track 7. This is I Can Feel a Hot One.
I took you like a grown man crying on the pavement, hoping you would show your face. Well, I haven't heard a thing you've said in at least a couple hundred days. What'd you say?
Track 7, I Can Feel a Hot One.
Meat, I'm sobbing.
I'm sobbing my eyes out.
Meat, I'm sobbing.
It's a bloody beautiful song, that girl.
This is everyone doing their own Scouse accent. so.
Your one's really spot on.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Hey, you
Les.
do a good one.
We'll let you know. Yeah, so that was I Can Feel a Hot One. What I would say to be my favorite on the album. It made just impossible.
Good call,
Such
you
emotion.
soppy bastard.
Really good. You know, I could pick 2 songs from this album as a favorite, one that's heavy and one that's not, because there's a few of each. But yeah, amazing. Shows a nice gentle side to him after all the aggression leading up to this point.
So this opens side 2, essentially, is what's happening.
Yeah,
Mm.
this opens side 2 in a nice way.
This is just after you've had your little ice cream and, in
Yeah,
the
exactly. In
interval.
the interval, yeah. You've got out and topped up your popcorn.
No ice cream on this one.
Yeah, gone and dealt with your weak prostrate.
So what's really nice about this song, though, is that there is a legitimate.
Yeah, well, yeah. We have an actual lyrical breakdown from
Yeah.
Andy himself. So
God.
interpretations are left at the door for this one.
That's
And
a
here he
nice
is.
one.
And there he is himself. Andy, welcome to the show.
How's it going, lad?
Worth mentioning that this song was originally on the EP Let My Pride Be What's Left Behind, which was released a year before this one.
Same version?
No. Different, but only slightly. But yeah, beautiful, man. I mean, what?
No,
It just
imagining
made me
one-
laugh as well.
One only slightly.
Yeah, I was thinking like literally like it's a second longer or something, or like
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah. Basically, he's
Like they left the coffin.
yeah, yeah. No, it's a
you
playing
just hear the drummer
guitar.
go, "Four." Let me. Oh, jeez.
Got me on that one.
Yeah.
Carl Lewis got me on that one. What's the gist of the song then? If you want to sum it up, then Carl.
General gist moves in a couple of directions. It's like two stories in one. Most of it is about him coming back from tour and about reintegrating himself into home life. Verse 1, you've got the "I could feel a hot one taking me down. For a moment, I could feel the force," which describes a panic attack that he had when he came back from tour and realized that his schedule is so different. The way in which he has to live his life is so different. Into verse 3, where he says, "I remember head down after you had found out that manna is a hell of a drug. I need a little more, I think, because enough is never quite enough." And this is interesting. This is a biblical reference. And Andy Hall, in his own words, I'll quote him to keep it transparent. He says, "It's tough sometimes as a human being to know when you have enough because we always want more. In the Old Testament, the Jewish people would receive what they needed from God, and it was often explained in the form of a fruit called manna. Sometimes, though, when you ask for it, it's more than you bargained for. See, God told them to take just as much as they needed and nothing more. Any excess they took would rot by the morning, so there was no point in ever overdoing it. That left people wondering, how much do we actually need? I always thought I wanted it all. This was really spawned from the Pedro the Lion song Simple Economics, with the line, 'Power can be such a tease, you're always wanting more. It's good to know that just like sex, it can be paid for,' which is an awesome line.
Amazing.
I'll bring up some David Bazan in a minute.
Yeah.
Later on in,
Okay.
in another song, but David Bazan from Pedro the Lion is a huge one on him.
Nice. And then he goes into talking to God for a brief time, where he's talking about the fact that the allure of the manna had taken him and kind of made him unsure of what he needs and not necessarily and confused with what he wants. And then the bridge gets super powerful, where he talks about a dream where he was driving down the road with his then at the time girlfriend, but actually future wife, and they were sideswiped in a crash, and she's dying on the floor, and he's there in front of her, and she's bleeding, she's about to die, and he prays to God, and instead of saving her, God lets him hear the voice of his baby daughter inside his wife, and at that point, he realizes that she's going to live on through the baby, and he finishes with the line, "And I felt love again," which is just so powerful, man. It's great.
It's amazing.
I mean, nice light subject.
Pass the tissues out for that one, yeah.
Man, he car crashes. Have you ever seen the film Crash?
No. Is there a car crash in it?
I've not seen it. I think it famously won like an
Cool.
Oscar or something for being a really bad. It famously won an Oscar because it was really bad and beat a load of other films to the Oscar or something. But it's about people that I think have a fetish for car crashes. Now, the reason I'm saying
Oh my word.
the reason I'm saying this is because car crashes come up a lot with Andy Hull and Manchester Orchestra, and the things that he does. Like, there's videos of car crashes later on in Manchester Orchestra's oeuvre. Said that word.
Nice.
It comes up in other lyrics, I'm sure. So it's a real recurring theme. There are themes in Manchester Orchestra, and one of them just happens to be
Car crashes.
car crashes. Yeah,
He has a lot of dreams about, like a lot of his songs, are about dreams that he has. So maybe he just dreams about car crashes.
Well, I bet that's probably a dream trope. It's probably like pulling your teeth out or something. It's probably the same thing.
Yeah. To potentially lighten the mood a little bit, me and Chris watched Blues Brothers the other night, and Chris managed to find a good fact that Blues Brothers has the making of that film managed to ruin the most cars in any movie ever.
That is true.
That's amazing.
Apart from the second Blues Brothers film, which beat it by one, which is something that Chris found, which is
brilliant.
Yeah, that whole production went off the rails apparently. In terms of costs, and as we would have guessed, as we guessed while we were watching.
Yeah, because they literally just like
just
you've
destroy
got
all the cars.
You've got Carrie Fisher literally firing rockets at buildings for 90% of the film.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you know what? I'll talk about David Bazan now, or else I might forget later on anyway. And it's tied to the car crash thing, because there's an amazing song at the end of an album by David Bazan when he's going under the name Headphones. And I might even bring that album in one day because it's one of my favorite albums. Not a lot of people know about that album that might already know who David Bazan is. And it's called Slow Car Crash. And it's such a beautiful song. So there's that. But also, more importantly than that, is what Andy Hull took from a podcast interview of David Bazan, which I thought was an amazing way to look at his songwriting. So David Bazan and Andy Hull share the fact that they address their faith within their songwriting. David Bazan has famously, for those people who know who David Bazan is, has shed his faith and is now atheist or agnostic or wherever he lands. But he said that when he was revisiting writing with Pedro the Lion, which is the band that he leads, he realized that there were these genius songwriting moments that he could never repeat again because he was dealing with those parts of his faith, whether that be transitional or not, because he did transition out of it. He said the most beauty comes from when your subconscious is allowed to write almost unhindered, I guess. And that's what Andy Hull really respected in the way that Bazan writes. Respected it so much that actually that whole podcast, the end of that podcast, is actually somewhere buried within the latest Manchester Orchestra album, which I found out as well during this podcast that I heard Andy Hull talking about. What he was saying is when you're not aware of what you're doing and you're unaware of what you're aiming for, your subconscious is allowed to be the smartest. And I think that is a really interesting way to look at the way that people that are dealing with faith and crises in faith, which, you know, some of this addresses.
Yeah.
It certainly makes for an interesting topic and an interesting way to approach songwriting. Final similar topic. It was featured on the American show Gossip Girl.
It was actually, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, which I can't imagine where it arrives, but I mean, I'm not a big gossip head.
No, am I?
It's in,
XOXO.
apparently, when I was reading about that, it was in, when I was watching every single episode for the last 10 years of my life. It was in a point where they'd all broken up with their partners or something, and that was what was played. I assume the last verse, because that's where it all gets juicy in it. Anyway, let's move on to track 8, which is called My Friend Marcus.
Marcus, he sleeps in my basement. His father touched more than spirit. Now he can hardly sleep.
That was track 8, My Friend Marcus.
May I start this one?
Go on, Charlie boy.
So I was there with my little notebook and my pencil, and this was one of those moments where I like snapped my pencil because out of kind of
What, in aggression?
out of frustration, I think. But then I thought about it, and I didn't really get what was going on in this tune. I'm gonna level with you. Like, I was listening to it, and I was just like, I can't pull this one apart without researching what it's about at all. I just couldn't get it. And then it made me think this is one of those tunes that, you know, when you're younger and you listen to a song, and certainly when I was growing up, a lot of the songs would just give me a certain feeling. It's not that I knew what the lyrics were talking about. There's some songs I listen back to now, and I'm like, that's heavy for a 12-year-old to be listening to and loving it and singing the words back. And I had no idea what those lyrics meant. And I couldn't help but think in this one that this might be the case for some of this album for people. And certainly it reflected it in the YouTube comments on this tune. A lot of people were like, oh man, this makes me feel this way. Or like, God, I remember putting this tune on, just feeling so good. I'd be going out and like...
It's crazy because it's so heavy and so dark in its theme, and touches on one of the heaviest subjects on the album with the with verse 1, I think it is, which is, my friend Marcus sleeps in the basement and his father touched more than spirit and he can hardly sleep, which is, I mean, pretty point blank about molestation or about being abused by a parent. But then just start to challenge religion, saying, I think you should go home, son, and find a father in your meaning, whether that's a father as in the father that abused him or a father in church, and maybe church can save you from what's happened. So many deep, deep themes, man. It's whether it's about Andy or somebody knows or not, I don't know. But again, possibly the darkest song on the album for me, this one.
Yeah, I guess it could either be, it could be that he's talking about another person, but I know certainly somewhere I'd read about this song, I think it was addressed by Andy Hull, that actually Marcus was his an imaginary friend of his invention when he was younger. So when you frame it like that, when you're looking at it not from the perspective that you're singing about another person, but actually you're singing about the other part of yourself or something that you might be repressing. So my friend Marcus, he sleeps in my basement. That could be you suppressing your thoughts, and that angle puts a really different spin on things, I think.
Mm-hmm. Another kind of use of his double meaning, left open kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so. And there's some great lines anyway. There's some great metaphorical lines in there, or you know, when he's doing some comparison things. You can keep that one in.
Yeah. You're welcome, everyone.
I was doing my train impression.
I think you got a few of these in there.
I was doing my fucking train impression right now. Give me a break. So my friend Marcus, he works on a train set. That's why I was doing it. and still I still can't move on my broke track. So this idea of two different parts of you, one part moving on, one part remaining stationary, is
that's a good bit of research. That makes sense.
Well, again, who the hell knows? But
Yeah. No, I like that.
who the heck knows? Sorry. My line from this one is, "I don't give a good shit if you're lonesome," because that one just hooks her.
Yeah.
Such a cool line.
It's pretty brutal if the situation is
Well,
what I initially
it
expected.
really
Yeah.
is. Yeah, yeah.
Shall we go on to a song about cereal?
Let's do it.
Cool. This is track 9, Tony the Tiger.
Didn't think that you would actually do it. Didn't think that you would actually do it.
Track 9, Tony the Tiger.
They're
Copyright Kellogg's. Yeah.
Do you know why it might be? Do you know why it's called Tony the Tiger?
I do actually, yeah.
Go on then.
No, you go for
Well,
this.
no,
one,
no,
go
no.
on.
I think. What if it's different? And you go.
Okay. Well, what I was originally in the studio, what I read to be true is that the bass line at the outro sounds like, or can easily be remembered by someone saying Tony the Tiger. Tony the
Oh.
Tiger. Did you not find that?
No.
Wow.
So, well, let me
No,
quote
I
it.
did. No, I did.
Did you?
Yeah, I can think of a story on the fly. I was
You were going to go for it. No, actually.
No, Andy Hull had an obsession with
Kellogg's Cornflakes.
Kellogg's Frosties. Thank you
Frosties,
very
actually.
much.
Or Frosted Flakes, as they are in the US.
Shout out to the shop that we went to in America that does cereal milk flavored ice cream. It's called Milk.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember tasting that?
Oh, my God.
That was life changing.
Delicious, yeah.
It's good anyway. They cottoned onto it over here in the restaurants and started making cereal milk everything. Cereal milk panna
Steaks.
cotta.
Cereal milk
and,
steaks.
And steaks, yeah. So I'll surprise you both now and tell you, as the longest serving member of the Manchester Orchestra Club out of all three of us, this is my favourite song on the album.
Show off.
That's
Yeah.
a shocker.
I
Really?
know, it's not, yeah, no, it is. I don't know where it came from, but I think it's made by the ending of this song. Do you know what kills me? If I'm just going to get the number, I think 15 is the number that I'm gonna use. They've only played this song live 15 times. This is like they hardly ever play this song live.
Hey.
They played this 13 times on the Mean Everything to Nothing tour when it was like the anniversary.
Bro, you're
tour.
stepping on my toes here.
Oh,
No, I haven't got this fact, but you can't be just busting useless, boring facts out without my permission.
but that's a fact that really affects me.
Apologise to Charlie.
Sorry, Charlie.
And sorry, lovely audience who can't wait for my facts.
Sorry, Ben.
Yes.
Do you want to do your fact? Have you got a fact now?
No, I haven't got a fact
No,
now.
you're just in his zone.
But you really need to start bringing facts for every song. No.
Oh, Tony the Tiger again. We've done that one, Charlie.
I was a pirate, actually, though. Anyone remember Pop-Up Pirate?
Yeah, oh, man.
Oh, don't say that. Now I've got.
Oh,
to buy
shit,
that.
that's-
I've got to buy that for next.
Oh,
Stay
yeah,
tuned for next week when we
Stretch
feature
is-
Pop-Up
You
Pirate.
haven't put Stretch down since we started.
I love him.
Why is his head a completely different colour to his body? Any useless facts about that?
Sunbeds and that.
Sunbeds in that, yeah. He was
Sunbeds in
he was a balaclava on the sunbed.
Now the good news about this song is it sounds like it's a heavy song, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
How's
does.
that the good news about it?
No.
Because it might not be.
Sorry, that's not the end of my.
Will you stop
interesting
jumping on
fact.
Chris's stuff, Charlie? It sounds like it's about abortion.
It does sound like it's about abortion, and it's been addressed by Andy Hull and said it isn't, but he could see why people would think that because, yes, it does sound like there are if you pull
Didn't
all
think he would
pull all
actually
those-
do it?
Yeah. If you pull all those words out and assign it to that, then it certainly does. So it's actually quite nice. It's apparently about a difficult drive.
Yeah, difficult drive home. Yeah, apparently.
I'll take that.
I just wanted to bring up now that isn't it funny that for an album that's full of really great musicality that we've spent so much time talking about lyrics and meanings.
Yeah.
It's doing my head in.
It's such a deep album, and it's hard to not get lost in trying to pick that apart.
Yeah.
But I mean, musically, it is so
It's
amazing.
still
to me.
brilliant.
Yeah,
It
ridiculous.
is. Well, musically, this is where I pinned the Weezer reference. If you're going to get some Pinkerton era Weezer in there, there's Get You on Pinkerton. That's if I'm shoehorning it into there. But this actually reminded me more of Modest Mouse. Modest Mouse comes up a lot in discussion about influence and stuff like that, and stuff on the album Good News for People Who Love Bad News. That's in there for me, especially the bass. The bass is my favorite part of this. The bass and the ending, the way the bass is played over the ending particularly. But I don't know. There's something really fun about this song that I just like, and I'd love to have heard it live, but it's such a rarity.
Yeah, I think it was this song, and correct me anyone if I'm wrong, but I think the first time he played this was on a solo tour, just him and his acoustic.
Oh, okay.
And I think that was the first time he played it.
As a Manchester Orchestra song, or
just just as in general.
right.
I think
okay.
it was like it hadn't been played, and then he took.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Charlie's got a smile on his face, like he's got a fact, or
I haven't. I'm
he's
just
suspicious
angry
of our
that you
fact.
guys are trying to step on my toes.
Toes are not going to be stepped on, Charlie. Not in this room. Not in my house.
Not in my house. Yeah. So with all of that being said, let's jump on to track 10, which is kind of the title track to the album, which is Everything to Nothing. Track 10, Everything to Nothing.
This will surprise you. This was my favorite track
Was
Was
it?
on the album.
Get on.
Pretty amazing it is.
Can I tell you why?
Go on.
It
Is it the longest track on the album?
no, not far off though.
Is it 5 minutes? Was it 5 minutes 13?
13.
There was a 5:11 on here.
God, I bet you
And I was like, it was musically. I just like that intro going into that. Like it felt like the guitar kind of skips.
Yeah, it's like
And
lazy.
it felt like it had so much energy, and it was so youthful to me. And I think you said it last week, Carl, when you're talking about nostalgia as being kind of like a kind of happy, sad feeling, and that's what it gave me. I felt like, free and youthful, and the lyrics didn't draw me in too much on this one, which was kind of a relief.
Yeah, well,
After,
yeah.
like, the
Some
first of the album.
respite from the chaos.
The respite, but I just loved it. I thought it was such a good tune. On to Meaning, though. I mean, I don't know if you guys read much about this, but all I could really find was that it was possibly, well, it was a note from his grandfather, right? That he, obviously that's in the lyrics.
Yeah.
But it was Andy perhaps getting back in touch with God.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I drew as well, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is why it surprises me that this entire album isn't a concept, because when we get around to this end of the album, there's almost like the rediscovery. There's lots of questions at the beginning of the album.
And then he's getting back in touch with God.
Yeah, it really surprised me that it's not.
The whole theme of the album, well, the You Mean Everything to Nothing, and that whole recurring theme, which, because this is obviously a reprisal of My Friend Marcus, in terms of, well, My Friend Marcus reprises the You Mean Everything to Nothing line in this song. And so I couldn't really pick apart the You Mean Everything to Nothing. It's like, for me, I thought, like, if I was to say to someone you love, you mean everything to me, it's like, that means that, like, that person means everything to at least me. To say you mean everything to nothing means that you don't mean anything to anyone, almost, is how I unpicked it. But that it is so vague. Classic Andy Hull, open to what you think. But
well, look, put a pin in that for a sec,
Mhm.
because there's two different points there that you just brought up that I wanted to talk about anyway. The first one is the songwriting process, in that, especially in this album anyway, there are moments where songs share lyrics or allude to other lyrics across the space of this entire album. So that is one of them. So My Friend Marcus, it does say you mean everything to nothing, and then this is obviously this song is everything to nothing. That is a way that Andy Hull does write.
Mm-hmm.
Often uses the spark of a song to lead into the next song.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems apparent there. Noticed it as well when you've got Shake It Out, and the way at the start of that song he's talking about, obviously shake it out. Then when you get to I Can Feel a Hot One, when he's saying I'm shaking it out on the in the front seat, I think is what the lyrics are. So again, that's probably why I'm going, this must be a concept album, because there's that thing again.
Yeah.
But I think that's just the way that he likes to write.
He's inspired by his own music as he's writing, kind of thing.
Or like that might just be a catalyst for, instead of going, okay, I could pick from everything, instead of that, why don't I, this thing here really resonated, or that's like a hangover from that song, so how can I fashion this into a new song?
Yeah. Like a method actor might permanently, when they're doing a role, live in the character and act like the character 24 hours a day. Yeah. When he's writing an album, maybe he personifies and embodies the album, so that every time he comes to write he's in that zone.
Yeah.
Which is maybe
Yeah.
why they recur and call back on each
Yeah.
other.
Now, second point, everything to nothing. The phrase mean everything to nothing, because I couldn't work out if that is positive or negative. It sounds really negative.
Does sound negative. Like Carl broke it down. It does. I can't
Yeah.
see it
Now,
any other way.
Now, in an article
You
entitled,
read?
my favorite, the favorite title of all the articles that have ever existed on the internet, is called Manchester Orchestra, Swiss Army Man, and How to Score a Film with a Farting Corpse. That's what the name
Nice.
of
The musical.
Because the musical on,
On
on
ice. I feel it.
I need to see that in the cinemas when everything opens up again. No, Swiss Army Man is a film that is scored by Andy Hull, and I keep wanting to call him Roddy McDowell, but it's Robert McDowell. And
It's a weird thing to want
I
to call
know,
it.
I know, no, Roddy. I think Roddy McDowell sounds right to me. But they scored that film, and it is about Daniel Radcliffe's character, who is a Swiss Army man, who at one point they do ride him over the ocean, powered by the farts of his corpse. That's a true thing. The people that directed that film also directed the video for Simple Math, which came on the album of the same name later on.
Solid.
Yeah, but so that's not even the important
No,
stuff.
right.
That's just me going off on
That
some
was
tangent.
the. Yeah, right.
That's me
Jeepers.
riding around Daniel Radcliffe's corpse in the lake, and I've just done a little U-turn, and I'm coming back. I'm
Yeah.
just coming back.
Actor of the week, Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh, we can lay into Daniel Radcliffe now instead of I'll go. Yeah,
I mean, he is, as Kristen Stewart is just Twilight, he is pretty much just Harry Potter.
he really is. He really is.
Daniel, if you're listening.
Dan, if you're out there,
Give us something else, will
Okay,
you?
let me just. I'm gonna have to read this. So, he said that it's funny because they the reason why it's talked about at this point is because they're asked, or Andy Hull is asked about, or he sings in that song, "Everything, Everywhere Matters to Everything." Everything. Let me just say that out loud again. Everything, everywhere matters to everything. So that's almost the opposite of mean everything to nothing. But what he was so he was asked about that, and he was saying with phrases like that, what I meant that it was never meant to mean anything to one particular thing. Don't have all your meaning wrapped up in one thing. Mean everything to no thing. That's the way it's. I mean, nothing and no thing are two different words, but that's how it was unpacked with him. So I reckon we should go on to the next song that is also laced in religion.
Yeah, I mean, this is possibly the most religious, the religious song on the album. So, Chris, I will take you to the river. Yeah,
Please.
Oh God, I need it. So let me sing again. Take me to the river.
right then, Charlie, give us a go with that. Come on, get that stretch out. Let's have a pull on it.
Here you go, mate. Have a go on that. Don't break it.
Freaking pull it.
I'll be furious if you break it.
I mean, he's apparently
He's stronger than I remember.
he's putting in the oven or something. He's rock hard.
Jeepers.
You're right.
I'm going to need some kind of theme tune going on for my useless fact of the day.
Is
So
this
if
the
anyone wants to
time?
cook one up,
Are we here?
we're here, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I know it's been a long slog to get here. You've waded through a lot, and here we go. River. This tune is the longest tune on the album.
Is that the actual fact you're
fact?
bringing again?
That's what everyone's been wanting
Fucking
to.
hell. If they expect the same fact every week, they're not going to. That's going to make you redundant.
No, it won't.
Okay,
5:59.
5:59.
you get 2.5 good pop songs in that.
2.5.
Good.
Come on, my darling.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, go on then. Whilst we're in fact zone,
What an anti-climax.
I have a fact that I don't think either of you might have found, because I found this in the bowels of the internet.
The dark web.
The dark web, yeah. www.darkweb.dark. So did you know that the band covered the entire of Michael Jackson's Thriller album?
No.
Yeah, they did. Between 2010 and 2015, direct quote from Andy Hull, we covered the entire album Thriller, note for note, from 2010 to 2015. It was one of the most challenging and stretching experiences we ever had. Once we did that over the course of 5 years, we realized that no cover was out of bounds. We have a great cover of Future of the Left. You Need Satan More Than... So the Future of the Left song, You Need Satan More Than He Needs You, that I would love to peek its head out one day. Whether he's taking the piss out of us and that's a joke, I don't know, but that's a quote from
Mad thought.
the man himself. So could you imagine a Manchester Orchestra version of Thriller? I mean,
You know, there's probably an audience for it.
yeah, I'd listen to it.
I might listen to it once.
Yeah.
They've gone through a lot of covers in their time, apparently.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Thriller's one of them. But anyway, yeah, track 11, The River.
I thought this sounded a bit like a musical.
This song. Interesting.
Are we going to talk in tandem? Are we going to start finishing each other's
This song.
Sentences.
Thank you.
Oh, jeepers. Yeah, I just thought it sounded kind of musical. Like a musical.
If I'm going to imagine them on stage now, I can, it's got that climax at the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I just, like the dynamics of it, the way it flows.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know what's the musical about? It's probably addiction or...
Oh, God.
It's going to have to be, isn't it?
Yeah, God
The whole
crushes.
album would make more sense if there was a bunch of people on stage acting it out so we could get some relevance to it. But this is this is probably the most, the song on the album with the most directly religious connotations. Like, Oh God, I Need It, Let Me Sing Again, Take Me to the River, shout out to Al Green, Reverend Al Green, and Let Me See Again, and kind of a lot of religious references. Did anyone notice, or did anyone find, because I didn't notice this, but I'd found the direct quote from the gospel song, Thou Fount of Every Blessing?
I did.
Go for an explanation on that.
It's the grace taught a debtor, daily I'm strained to be. God, how I feel it. Fetter pride to your feet. And there's so that's an edited or a different version of the lyrics. What's the name of the song? Sorry,
Thou Font of Every Blessing.
I didn't write it down.
The gospel song.
Yeah. And I think what's happened there with Andy's version, the new lyrics, is that it's framed from his point of view and maybe a little bit more of struggle rather than of grace. But if you're gonna struggle through Manchester Orchestra lyrics, man, go through some Bible quotes or some some traditional hymns or things like that, because making sense of that is another head scratcher.
It's tough.
But it is a direct reference. I mean, line for line. Some of it is addressed differently. One is instead of "bind my wandering heart to thee," which sounds quite safe and redemptive. The alternative that Andy Hull sings is "fetter pride to your feet," which is tie pride to your feet, which sounds like the opposite, like you're being dragged down rather than lifted up.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but this is the most overtly faith-ridden song. Sword in my side. It's that thorn in your side thing. It's there all the way through.
I did find a reference to that line, but it seemed like too much of a stretch to bring in. But I might
too much of an Armstrong to bring that one in.
Too much of a stretch, Armstrong. Yeah, but again, it does brush the themes of loss of faith, or at least distance from faith, where it's like he gets throughout the song, he's trying to get closer to God and talking about how much he needs it and how much he wants to get himself closer to it.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he kind of says, I'm going to leave you the first chance I get.
Yeah.
Which is almost like him being like, we've been here before.
Yeah.
I've been close to you. And then as soon as something better came along, I moved further away and then come back. And so this is a recurring kind of coming and going relationship.
Yeah. I feel most comfortable like actually just looking at these and saying, well, actually, look, that sounds like a prayer, or that sounds like a cry for some sort of sign from God. Quite comfortable saying, oh, he's losing faith in God. So actually, for how difficult this album has been unpacking lyrically, it's actually quite nice to get one that's sort of like, well, yes, that is that's doused in religion.
It's not a bloody head bopper though, is it, Derland?
It's not, no.
But I would want to be in a room where I hear the whole room shout, "Oh God, I need it!" I want to hear that one. I might have heard it. I've seen Manchester Orchestra before, once, maybe twice. I was quite drunk one of the times, and I remember them being too quiet. That's the two takeaways from it.
Yeah,
I saw them in Bristol.
If you're going to watch that band, it's got to be loud, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, he talks about the way that his guitar's wired up. His guitar. Do you know anything about his guitar?
No.
His guitar's like he's taken everything out of his guitar. So once you're in, you're in. There's no volumes. There's one pickup. That's it. Which is great. I mean, you haven't got to think about anything then.
Yeah.
Because he just he said it like it took the volume output on that up like by 25%. He's just after volume. He breaks amps all the time too. So.
Has the guy got a tuner pedal?
I think he doesn't even use. He says he's got one pedal he uses. He's got like a blues breaker or
The
something.
loud pedal.
Yeah, maybe he uses a holy grail.
He uses a volume. He uses a
Oh.
volume pedal. Actually, that's what he does. Yes. Oh, sorry, I just missed the Holy Grail thing.
Yeah, well, thanks. It's all right. Yeah, and maybe he tunes his guitar with the power of the Lord. So who knows?
Okay. So, I feel like we're going to rush over this one, but I actually really, really like this. I like this as an album closer. Now, one of the guys, I think it was Robert, don't quote me on that, but I will quote someone on this. He said that they do like to really like blast into and out of an album. So track 1 and the final track are like your statements of intent, I guess. Now, this is the last track on the album, sort of, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is track 11 because there is the next track, Jimmy He Whispers, which ends this song, or at least it's listed as it's unlisted on the album.
Yeah. So on the Spotify, on the digital version of the album, you have Jimmy He Whispers. On the vinyl pressed version, you have The River, then a 3-minute gap, and then Jimmy He Whispers, like a secret track.
Yeah. Now the reason why I said that is because this is the most overtly religious, textually, this is the most overtly religious song on the album. And he's, if you're going to, so you said that this feels like a musical song, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to see that on stage, this almost is like a cry for help song, right? This is like I need something, I need to be shown something. Show me the way or whatever, right?
Take me to the river.
Take me to the river, yeah? And then everyone comes out and they
Wash him down.
Yeah. The next song that isn't listed on the album liner notes, but is digitally. But let's just imagine we're listening to it on a record like we have been. What's amazing about track 12, Jimmy He Whispers, is that God speaks in this song, and God doesn't speak in the rest of the song. He's not given a voice in the rest of the album. So I like these two together in that the first part needs something, second part, God arrives.
Yeah, so all right, well let's push to Jimmy Whispers, which digitally is track 12. On the vinyl, it's a hidden track, and like Chris says, there's an addressing of God in this one, so maybe we'll get some answers.
So Jimmy, I've heard the voice of God, and he whispered fear is logical, and he said it's magic wonderful. He swears to him it's
That was track 12. Jimmy He Whispers.
Yes, he does. Should do the whole thing whispering.
No, I hate the sound of whispering.
No, it's
Oh, this is going to be pissing everyone off already, I can tell. Anyone who's got in the headphones on, it's just like...
People love ASMR now. That's the
Do you
thing.
ever do unnecessary whispering at home just for like, I don't know.
Sorry, what?
I sometimes find myself when I'm talking, people on the old other side of this, like, give me some love for this, yeah? You're at home, you might be with your partner, and you're both whispering, and you literally have no idea why you're doing it.
Me and Chris are horrendously single.
Watch the hundreds
Shout out
of
the
comments
ladies.
coming in going, Charlie,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I literally whisper every morning, and I don't know why.
Well, if anyone listening randomly and for no reason whispers in their house, drop us a message and let Charlie feel...
I'm setting up a helpline for us. It will be available at the end of the podcast.
It's called Charlie, He Whispers.
I feel it.
I feel that. God, if you're whispering around your house, you living on your own, then
I mean, that's
mate,
going to be weird.
You're
Yeah,
going to have to ring in and leave an answer phone message for us, I think.
we do have some voicemails coming, actually. That's
We'll get
worth
to those.
pointing out. We'll get to that. Right, track 12, then Jimmy Whispers. Did anyone root out what the song was about?
Well, old Jimmy's a real guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jimmy is Jimmy Caholias from Color Revolt. Is that the name of the band?
Color Revolt, yeah.
Yeah, did you find this one, Charlie?
I did indeed.
Give us a read on that quote, will you, mate?
So he said, didn't he, that he called Andy at 4 a.m. and said, hey, I'm on the floor of a hotel in Utah and just want you to know I just had a dream. You and I were on the way to this lake where you could hear the voice of God whisper, and we were both trembling in fear on our way there about what he would say.
Yeah. Amazing, that, isn't it?
Amazing.
I mean,
And then he immediately went into his little recording closet, as it was then.
Yeah.
Threw a blanket over his head and recorded the demo. And apparently it just fell out of him.
It's amazing.
He also ends that quote with, and also long live Color Revolt. So shout out Color Revolt.
I think they're one of the artists up top that we mentioned. Well, I think I mentioned about the Atlanta, Georgia bands.
Yeah.
That sort of cross over with them, and I think they'd be one. And Oh Brother is another. I might be wrong location wise. They might be Georgia. They might be Southern American, but I'll bang some of that in the playlist.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. If you go find the
'Cause
playlist,
there's some crossover, you know.
We will link to that playlist because it's not directly attached to the podcast. It's a separate account on Spotify, so we'll share it.
Amazing songwriting in this song, and the rhyming structure as well.
Mhm.
Everything's just
It's almost hymnal.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's exactly how I wrote it. I said feels like scripture. I don't know if scripture
Mm-hmm.
is the right word, but it is like that, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
When God does speak in this song,
In the name of Jesus.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
oh, thank you, Jesus. When Jesus speaks, when he speaks, like the whole song pauses, doesn't move forward at all. So the like that idea of a scripture or hymnal or whatever, the rhetoric of it repeats and repeats and repeats, and this amazing string swell happens, and it doesn't stop. It's really stressful. This song gives me goosebumps, but the song itself is not. It's not very forgiving.
wow.
Stuart out
Little.
there on the not Stuart Little, Stuart from Bleak.
Stuart Big.
Stuart from Bleak Planet. He
Blue Planet.
he took on board our suggestions of leaving some comments, and he did comment on this song, and he said it had some big Conor Oberst vibes. So that's Conor Oberst from Bright Eyes. Also did some stuff with Phoebe Bridgers recently, and he's right. He's doing that like right up here, like talking right, doing almost threatening and
Yeah, yeah. Right
So
in your ear.
I will agree with him on that one. And also remind you that if you want to leave some comments on the next album, please feel free, and we'll try and address them where you can.
We will bring him in.
What an album.
What an album, man.
Oh man, this is,
I hope you've made it all the way with us.
Yeah,
darling
I
listeners.
did. I did want to close it with, because this has been such a heavy unpacking of lyrics, and we're all doing our best to interpret the uninterpretable when it comes to Andy Hull. I wanted to, and his religion and stuff like that. I wanted to bring in a quote that he gave an answer to a question in an interview with a place called Blue Indian. Andy was on an airplane on his way to Salt Lake City and was given the questions. And whilst he was in the sky, he wrote his answers down on a piece of paper, which was amazing, and sent his pictures to the interviewer. And one of the quotes that I took from it was a good way for us to kind of get some understanding on how his relationship with his parents, for one, and how the religion has affected his music and how he might want us to interpret that. So it went like this. He said, "I write about what I know and what I don't know. My upbringing was healthy, happy, and full of love. My parents and I still remain very close. They're proud of us and happy that they don't have to bankroll our tours in suburban SUVs anymore. Growing up learning lessons and stories that ultimately stand for strong values and treating others better than yourself, regardless of religious upbringing. These things are still valid and topical. Do I believe in God? Yes. Do I need to tell everyone they should believe in God? No. I'm writing songs and listeners break that down. And if they feel closer or further from God, at least they felt something."
Nice, Carl.
it sort of it takes the pressure off, really, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. No, thanks, Andy. We need
Should we
that.
go and have a shower?
I need to sit down in the shower and cry my eyes out for a couple of hours.
I need to repent my sins, I think.
Yeah.
That's what I need to do. Not that I've got any sins. Mum. Hi, Mum. She listened to the last episode. So.
Did she?
Get on, mother
Shout out
bum.
Chris's mum.
So let's round off the end of this album, I guess. Then,
Yeah,
in
I
terms
could do
of
with a
its-
beer, boys.
Yeah, I'm going to get that
Yeah.
beer in a minute. I'll go and get one. They're such a great band. Very funny, very dry.
Yeah, some of the
witted
interviews were
and-
just hysterical, man.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
Andy's,
yeah.
the way he puts himself across.
It was a very good choice, Bunt.
It was a good choice.
You enjoyed
man.
it, yeah?
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I don't think I'll bring one with this type of subject matter because I'm exhausted now even talking about
Yeah,
it.
it's heavy, and
Yeah.
we can only offset that so much with, joking about it and
Yeah.
stuff, because it is a
Yeah.
heavy topic, and yeah, but it's an amazing album, and I've become a lot more of a fan through listening to it.
Yeah.
I didn't really know much at all about the band,
Yeah.
and coming away from this and studying it so much, I feel way closer to the band.
So are we calling it on that?
I reckon so. I think, if is
Amen.
everyone, yeah, amen, yeah, and there we have it.
You want me to give you the Woody Allen scene as though we've already talked about divorcing? Are you
Might
gonna
as
do it?
well.
Okay, why don't you talk about it and I'll go and get some beers from the fridge.
All I know is the quote on the back of the album cover.
I have no idea where it's from. I couldn't find where it's from anyway. But you
Right.
can you can
Okay.
do that.
Well, all I'm going to say on that one is on the back of the album cover, there's a quote from Woody Allen, and it says, "Eternal nothingness is fine if you happen to be dressed for it," which is a good quote.
It's a beauty.
That's a beauty. But yeah, Chris is going to grab. So we had an idea to round off each episode by grabbing a couple of nice beers. We tried to find some from Atlanta, but the shop didn't have any. So we got some from
Where are you from
Manchester.
today?
Which
Manchester.
guess is as good as it can get. Should we crack them then? Oh, jeepers.
Oh, I need this today.
I
I need
it
that
off-
one after this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Go
Pour away, Carl. Just pour it
I'm
away.
going to pass you the can.
Thanks.
Oh, listen to that. ASMR.
Too right,
Big up
boys.
wheel. Lovely.
Where are these from?
They're from Manchester. We've got ABC Brewery and we've got something Cloud. It's on your one, Charlie.
Did you
Cloud
purchase
Water.
it from a lovely
We did. We got it from Beercraft in Bath.
shout out
which
to
is-
Beercraft in Bath?
Shout out Beercraft.
Amazing shop.
Yep. Plenty of choice. So yeah, we had we got Cloudwater and ABC Brewery, both from Manchester. So shout out those guys.
No, I'm terrified because I'm looking for my glass because I famously broke a lot of glasses in this room. No,
You have actually, yeah. You can't. You only just got back onto
Do you
glass,
know what? I'm just gonna have some out the can, all right?
so don't lose it.
Carl, we've got a couple of comments as well. I read this as Adam loves pasties, but it's
Oh,
obviously
that's
not.
it.
I
No
know
loves
those
pasties.
pasties.
No loves pasties. I think he wears pasties.
Oh yeah.
Because I know who this is. He wears pasties.
Well, it's not much of a comment, but he left 3 water emojis on one of our Instagram.
What's that suggesting?
Well,
Wet.
just as Andy Hull.
God,
Just
okay.
hey,
Quite good. Isn't
maybe
it?
that's a request for an album.
Yes,
Wet, wet, wet.
Yeah,
Wet, wet.
it's a really
That's good.
subliminal.
That's good because my mum loves wet as well. So.
Mrs. Bunt.
Hello, Mrs. Bunt.
We've got you covered.
And then we've got one from Wiz JPEG.
With JPEG. Cool.
Very, very lovely chap who said, Andy Hull is a trip. This episode is going to be intense.
I mean, yep, he was
And I
right,
mean,
man. It pretty much was
If
intense.
you're,
the whole
with
way.
us now, you'll be with us to, I don't know where I'm going with this. Carl.
Yeah, well, shout out to Wiz JPEG, or as his Reddit name is, what's the other name next to it?
It was Wiz Lebowski.
Wiz Lebowski, that was it. Well, yeah, thank you very much, man. We appreciate the support.
Market zero, Donnie.
Whoa,
Jesus Christ, that's the
That
largest
scared
thing I've
me.
ever read in my
Yeah,
life.
but compression.
Is that it?
that's it.
Cool, that's it for those. Before we go, let's announce next week's album, which is going to be Charlie Alfred Burnett III Fowler's.
That is my
Album.
full name.
That is his full name.
Well, boys, after a lot of thought, I wanted to choose an album that I feel like I never gave the time to and that everyone raves about, and understandably so, and also that I feel like my music education has suffered from not listening to it.
Hit us.
The album is Sign O' the Times by Prince.
Love it.
Shit.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Love
going to strap in.
Great, man.
It's going to be a
Can't
good
wait.
one. It's going to be a really good one.
That's going to be a sexy one, probably.
Yeah,
It is,
But like
yeah.
I say, I just feel like it's one of those albums that I have listened to at some point, but not nearly enough. And I feel like when we actually get into it, you know, it's gonna shoot up there as a.
Fair enough, man. Love it. Great
Yeah.
choice. Hopefully a slight change in theme as well. You know, we might have...
Oh, if he starts talking about God, then I'll bin it.
Right then. Well, I think that pretty much wraps us up.
Oh, dear.
If you enjoyed this album and you want to support the artist, go to the links in our bio and buy all of their stuff, listen to all of their music, go and watch the live stream, which came out on Friday the 12th, which will be 3 days after this episode comes out. So yeah, go listen to that, go support the band, and we'll see you next week for Charlie's suggestion, which is
It is Sign of the Times by Prince.
thank you, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See you next time.
Cheers and gone.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Between the Tracks, a book club but for music. Written, produced and presented by Carl Lewis, Chris Bunt and Charlie Fowler. Intro and outro music by Ross Chapman and Samson Jatto. Artwork by Jim Hurd at Twin Fin Design Co. Thanks to our friends at Sennheiser for the support. If you've enjoyed this album and can afford to buy it directly from the artist, links have been added to our website.
What's on there? Tis Punchy McDougal here. I've just been listening to your podcast, and I have to say, there was a final point there that your main man brought up. I think it's El Bunte. I think.
Oh, that's you, mate.
My main
Oh no,
man.
there's only three of you, so you'll probably work it out yourself. But someone brought up the point about how nice it was that if an artist likes the art that they make or what other people make,
Right.
other people might not like it themselves. It might be a painter
point,
enjoys
Punchy.
the paintings that
pretty
he
true.
sees, but other painters might not enjoy it. It might be a writer who's liking the literature of, certain authors or what have you.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest, I thought the point was fairly spot on because, whilst other people might think your podcast is proper good,
here we
I
go.
actually think it's a load of old bollocks. To be honest. I think you can fucking ditch it. I think unless you add a little bit of chat about a Massey Ferguson or a fucking John Deere,
Who are they?
it ain't fucking worth listening to. Tis a fucking waste for the lugholes.
Oh,
Right.
dear.
Anyway,
that's probably-
chuck
all
a
right.
fucking, an advert of that in there, see how we get on. And, along those lines there, I think you'll be all right. All right, my darling. Punchy McDougal here. If you want me to come on, I'll come on the bloody show. I'll talk about anything
We're gonna
fucking
have to
trash
punch you, no?
Punchy.
But at
Not if he
music,
talks for this
fucking
fucking
shove it up your ass, man.